Lifers. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the 1010 podcast, where we talk about life, all things pertaining to life and the abundant life that we can have through a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. If you don't have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, I want to encourage you today to explore that, because I hate to say it, but you're missing out. Knowing Christ and walking with him is truly the greatest part of my life. It's really what we were created for. Humanity was created to walk with Christ and to have a personal relationship with him. So I invite you into that. Hey, if you ever have any questions about that, you can always email me at life@cedarpark.org. Ask me any questions about what it means to be a follower of Christ. Maybe you have an idea for our podcast. Or you know somebody who'd be a great interview. I'd love to hear from you. You are my valuable listeners and watchers. And so however you're joining us today, thank you for tuning in, whether you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on Apple Podcast or Spotify or, I don't know, some other random channel that maybe we're at. I don't know how you're hearing it, but as usual, I'd love to invite you to like and subscribe. Share this episode with anyone that you think might benefit from it. It's going to be a great day because I have a special guest with me. Her name is Julie Cruz, and she manages the nurses at Overlake Hospital. She works in the postpartum wing, and one of the things, as I was thinking about having Julie on this podcast, I was like, it's so clear to me how God has given all of us different gifts. If it has anything to do with like blood, I'm out. I'm just out. I'm just gonna be honest. I can't do it. God didn't make me that way. Yeah. So this episode is going to clearly show us how, like the Bible talks about, we all have different gifts, and we're all part of the body of Christ. And I'm just glad that Julie's going to be here today to share the gifts that God has given her and how she uses them to bless moms and dads and babies. And so it's a beautiful story of life. So thanks again for tuning in, and let's get started. Awesome, Julie. Yay.
Thanks.
I'm so glad you're here.
I appreciate it.
And I think you're an amazing mom. You're an amazing woman of God. You're also a wife, and you serve on the board at Cedar Park Church here.
Yeah.
Some church calls them overseers or deacons, but here we call it the board, and
Yes.
you serve on our Cedar Park Church board, and I'm super thankful for you. But you also do amazing things every other day of the week. So tell me a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so I am the nurse manager at Overlake Hospital. We have a couple different departments within the childbirth center there, and this is really normal at any childbirth center. You have labor and delivery, postpartum, the NICU. So I'm fortunate enough to get to be over the postpartum unit, and that's really where, you know, moms and dads go and recover after they have their babies and before they head home.
Yep.
And I work with a really amazing team of people. We have 90 plus people on the unit who work. Many people who've been there for decades and who love what they do. And it's just a gift. And I work with some really wonderful, wonderful people.
You guys really are angels. I mean, I've had 4 kids, 4 daughters. I was at Evergreen Hospital with ours, but there's so much that I don't...
We partner a lot with them. They're great too.
Yeah. There's so much about that season, like right after you have a baby, that I don't really... I don't know what happened. I had 3 C-sections.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep. 3 C-sections out of 4 births. And so that's a whole different experience, but just the care. And I ran into so many believers, you know, who were just, they could tell that our family was Christians. And so just knowing that there's fellow believers that are also caring for you is such a blessing. But we've had 4 daughters, and all those experiences are like crazy.
They're just so, each one is so different, right?
Yes.
You know, especially if you think, oh, I've done this, you know?
Yes.
And no, God has a way of, I think I always say my kids, you know, are like the best thing that ever happened to me. They also humble me quite a bit.
Yes.
Because, you know, I've got this, and then you're like, no, I don't have this.
And you have
But
2 boys,
Two
right?
boys, yes. So Judah is 16 and Jonah's 13. And yeah, I think, I've had several different surgeries and hospital stays in my life. And I remember the nurses being great, but I really remember the nurses who took care of me after I had my babies. It's just something about it, you know? And it's a very vulnerable point in your life. There's a lot of hopes and dreams and fears. For some of our families, it doesn't go the way they hoped. So we think of the Childbirth Center as just a happy place, and many times it is.
Yeah.
But there's also stories of sadness, and stories where people didn't get to go home with the baby that they wanted and things. So I think getting to be a nurse in that space is such a privilege because you walk alongside people in some of the most monumental chapters of their life. So we talk about that a lot on our unit, that, wow, like, this is such a privilege. What a joy.
Yeah.
And sure, some days are stressy. Some days are, it's all going haywire. But I think, I can still picture the nurses who took care of me.
Yeah.
I had my first in Virginia, and then I had my second at Overlake.
Okay.
And yeah, there's a really special group of people.
Yep, they really are. I think my weirdest experience was, it wasn't weird, but it was like, you were talking about just that being a very vulnerable time of your life. And I had epidurals with all of them.
Yeah.
And I remember, you don't really see them because they're masked.
Yeah.
But the anesthesiologist specifically.
Yes.
But I just remember this one. I remember him and like seeing his face and all that. And then it was like a few years later, maybe not even that long. I was like in a Starbucks and I was like, that is my anesthesiologist.
Him. Like when you see your teacher outside of the classroom.
Yes, but it wasn't like I was just it's a very vulnerable position.
I've had people, to be like, you were
You saw my
standing
backside.
here. Yeah. I've had people come up to me and, so one of the past things I've done in my past lives as a nurse is be a lactation consultant.
Yeah.
And man, feeding your baby, boy, that's filled with all kinds of emotion, right? When it works, when it doesn't work. I mean, it's
important.
It's a lot. And so I've had people come up to me and say, you were my lactation consultant.
Aww.
Well, and you always hope it was a good, right? You're like, was it good? I hope it was good. Did
your baby?
Yeah.
Did it work?
Was my advice like the worst advice you ever heard, or no? But yeah, it's funny when you run into people out in the community.
Right.
But it's also it's a gift because you have that bond, and it's so special.
Yeah. For whatever reason, every time that we got pregnant, I think it must have been like early season of our life. We had a lot of different job changes, so I had a different doctor every time. Every single time. But they were all wonderful doctors and wonderful nurses. Although I remember one time I was in labor. Well, it would have only been with Jaslyn because she's the only one that I actually labored with. I did labor with Talia, but then Jazzy and then the other two were just scheduled. Yeah. But you're in there and you're like breathing through the contractions, and Jay's on one side and the nurse was on the other side, and they were just having this great conversation over me. Yeah.
Hello.
I just remember being so irritated.
There's something about that, especially when you're in labor, that you kind of become a different person because you're just,
It's a
but
lot.
yes, yeah. No, I remember, it's kind of a silly story, but I remember with my second being in labor, and Justin, my husband, had not eaten all morning, and I hadn't eaten either, and so, but now I wasn't going to eat in case, Right. And he's like, I'm so hungry, but he wasn't going to.
Right, he didn't want to.
And I'm like, you know what, just get something. It's going to be a while, whatever. Yeah. And so he
got. It's very gracious of you.
I was like, I don't care. I was just so like in this, mindset. But he ordered a chicken Caesar salad and just with some lemon on it. And he came over, he was like, you're doing so good. And the lemon, I became instantly, completely nauseous. I was like, you have to get away from me. and he's like, it's
anchovies and all, right?
No, you just become labor. It's just so much fun. But yeah, you're like,
your patience is zero. You want all moments to be about you.
Yeah, well,
no distractions.
You're about to do an amazing thing. So
yes, I remember another time. we were waiting, and you know, there's a TV in the room, and he was watching, or Ocean's 11 or something was on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is not a time to be watching a movie. Like,
It's a miracle happening here.
it's a miracle.
Yeah,
happening.
no, not turn off Brad Pitt, please.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I don't want to see people looking good right now.
It's so funny. It's so true. Yeah. love it.
Anyway, that seems like such a long time ago, as our kids are so old. But
Yeah.
okay, so you mentioned your husband. So how long have you been married?
So Justin and I have been married for 18 years.
Wow.
Yeah. He was fairly young. We were fairly young when we got married. Justin was 21.
Okay.
We joke, I'm 2.5 years older, so,
Oh.
rob the cradle.
Yes. Does he remind you of that often?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Especially
3
now
months older.
I'm 42.
Oh, and he's
about to turn 40.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
That's
you know,
huge.
yeah.
So
Anyway,
he's in his
so
30s,
much older.
and
So-
you're in your 40s.
Yes, I'm married to a man in his 30s. No. No, but we've been together for 18 years, and God's really blessed that. Like, like every marriage, you have your moments, but there's really never been a season where I was like, this is, I wonder if this could work. I mean, it's just been such a beautiful, I think, partnership, and we really, love and support each other. And, we've been through seasons where, we couldn't find jobs, or we had to go back to school, or just different things. But it's all been, by God's grace, and just that He's brought us through this. And it's been a great ride.
And it just keeps getting better.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yes, because there will be a day when your boys will leave you.
It's going to come soon.
It does.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what? So this is what I always tell couples, like, this is why you have date nights.
Yes. Yes.
This is why you invest in your marriage, even when it seems like, but we live together. We're always together. Like, why?
Well, we're so busy that
Yeah.
we jokingly, say, oh, we're just ships in the night. But no, we have to.
You do.
It's so important.
Yes,
So,
because
yeah.
they'll leave you, and then it's okay. It's just a lot more jarring than
Your
I
energy
ever imagined it
and your
would be.
focus. I can only imagine, because
Yeah.
that's where a
Yeah.
lot of our energy
Yes.
and focus goes.
All your conversations are about schedules, like
Yes.
meals, that
Grades.
work. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
classwork. Oh my word, I've been out of that for a while.
Yeah.
The homework.
We're right in it.
Yeah, it's a hard
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
And it's hard to imagine that it won't be that way, but it will. It'll be.
I can already see Judah being a sophomore. I'm like, oh, just two more times that this happens. Oh my
Yes.
goodness, this is gonna go really
Yeah.
fast.
Mhm.
So I'm
Yeah.
trying to not ruin this season of life with
Yeah.
grieving already.
Right. Yeah, don't
Be
grieve
in the
yet.
moment.
You'll have time for
but
that.
no, I'm gonna. Yeah, exactly. No, it's gonna go fast. I can already tell.
Yeah,
So,
and then your house is quiet. Because right now it's just the two of us.
less messy, I hope.
For
maybe.
sure. Yeah, but then you're like, oh, I made that mess,
Yeah, that's true.
So then you can't blame it on the kids.
No, that's a bummer.
So yeah, keep dating. I saw you posted a picture. You guys went on a date the other night.
Yeah.
Good job.
Went to some good Indian food.
That's
It's
perfect.
delicious.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. It was great to chat and just,
Yeah.
reconnect, and, we want to do that more and more. So,
Even though our kids are so important to us, like there is life beyond them. And it's weird to imagine that. But
well, and it's my hope that they see not a perfect marriage whatsoever. They'd probably be the first to tell you that. But at least a marriage where the love is there, the effort's there,
Yeah.
the putting God at the center of it as much as we can, and when we fail, it's saying I'm sorry. And that's one of my biggest dreams for them. I pray for their spouses someday, and that they will have an equally wonderful or even better
Yeah.
relationship. So I think it's important just for our
Absolutely.
kids to see that.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good, and that's all that you can do. And I think that's the best, being authentic in front of your kids. I've heard people say that like the worst thing for kids is not having an authentic
Yeah.
home life.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're a Christian family and at church you're one way,
Right.
and everybody sees you like la 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 whatever, but then at home it doesn't
Right.
reflect.
Just completely right.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
kids, just like, we're not stupid. Like, our kids aren't either. And so, we're not perfect, but when you're able to just acknowledge to your kids, like, your struggles, they see,
Yeah.
okay, this is how mom and dad worked through it. And I think
Yeah.
that's so
Exactly.
healthy for kids to see.
Exactly. It's funny because when you are a kid, you just think adults have it all together.
Totally.
They totally have it figured
No,
out.
no.
And yeah, I think that was, I think I remember calling my mom after I had, my first, and
Yeah.
so I'm really sorry.
Right.
I'm sorry that I,
Yes.
just kind of
Yeah.
had sometimes unrealistic expectations.
Yes.
We really are all,
Yeah.
doing our best to figure it out and grow and mature
Yes.
as we move through life. And yeah, so 100%. Trying to be as real as possible, knowing
Right.
that, there's plenty of things to apologize for.
Right.
And but knowing that at least, my hope is that that authentic humility is there.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. Well, you guys
So-
are doing a great job.
Thank you.
You have sweet boys, so keep it
They
up.
are. Yeah.
So I'd love to hear just more, starting maybe from the beginning.
Yeah.
For you, like where you were born and how you were raised and maybe how you came to Christ
Yeah.
and the things that have made you the woman that you are today.
Yeah. So I was born actually at Swedish in Seattle.
Oh.
So born here, and then I'm the middle of three girls. So my sister Jennifer, she's older than me. She lives in France. She and her husband are missionaries in France, which is amazing. And then my younger sister Megan, she lives here in Kenmore with her husband. She's a counselor. So I have awesome sisters. When I was about 2, my dad worked for Boeing, and he got transferred to Washington D.C. To work in the Senate and do different lobbying and different things for programs for Boeing. So we moved to Washington D.C. So I lived there. I think it was about 5 years. So from when I was 2 to 7. But I absolutely remember.
Oh, you do?
Oh yeah. And I think it shaped me into a little bit of the history buff that I am.
yeah.
I love history and reading about history. And I think if you grow up visiting your dad in the Capitol building.
Right.
I mean,
That's pretty
yeah. I had no concept of how cool it was, but and so we got to just explore DC and all the amazing history around it. So we lived there for about 5 years, and then we moved back to Seattle. Yeah, I grew up going to Christian schools.
Okay.
I went to a smaller Lutheran school. We grew up in the Lutheran church. Our grandparents on both sides who have a really rich history of faith,
Good.
and Justin's parents too. So I think I was raised in the church. I went to Christian schools. So in some respects, you say, oh, there's no exciting moment per se. I went to a youth conference my sophomore year of high school. And I can say that was the moment that I gave my life to the Lord fully, where I think, you kind of say, this is my faith. This is not our family's faith or my, what we should believe. This is what I believe because God has revealed himself to me. And, it was just such a Holy Spirit moment where, I just, the presence of God was so heavy and just so incredible. And so really from there, my life was really quite transformed from that moment in terms of just sort of my purpose for living from there on out. I think like many girls, I think I struggled sometimes with self-esteem, and, I laugh about it, but, I've never been size 0. I've never been, all those things. And so, it's hard because culture throws, the correct size and the correct look at you and magazines and stuff. So, it was a real big journey for me to go from, and I still struggle with it today, if I'm honest, but I think more and more, that moment in my sophomore year, just kind of starting to place my confidence, my hope, my reason, for living in the Lord, as opposed to trying to find, everybody's approval.
Yeah.
And that's still something, if I'm honest, I'm a people pleaser. I definitely, but, that's been a sort of a lifelong journey for me, is working through that and just saying, who am I trying to please right now?
Right.
And, I'm sorry, Lord, once again, I've been trying to please people. So that was, for me, a big pivot point where it was almost like the blinders were taken off. So, and then I went to Northwest University, and got my nursing degree there, and you know, did some dating that I probably should not have done.
Okay.
You know, and
Most of us have.
yes, and you know, got into a relationship that was not healthy, and you know, almost got married.
Oh.
And yeah,
Someone from
and,
Northwest that you met?
yeah, and this person didn't go to NU, but
Okay.
met them during my time there,
I
and
see.
that's a whole nother testimony, kind of how God really, you know, I was a couple weeks away from getting married.
Wait, I want to hear this story.
Really.
So you were engaged, you had the wedding
Engaged, but this was
Whoa.
not. This was somebody who had a lot of control issues and a lot of.
planned. Did you know from the beginning that it wasn't right, but you were just kind of like ignoring the
Yeah,
blinders?
I think
or-
I wanted so much to be, you know, I grew up a little bit with the mentality of like when you dated somebody, you
You're loyal
courted
to
them, you
them,
made
like-
it work.
Yeah.
And we didn't, you know, everybody did, you know, all my youth pastors and stuff, they were all, you know, doing wonderful job. But I
Yeah.
think I could have learned more about like how do you date? How do you
Right.
is it okay? It's okay to date and then say no. This is
Oh,
not what God
interesting.
has for me. It was sort of like this has to work. Like we
Wow.
have to be. I don't know. And
Yeah.
And then also that self-esteem. You know,
Yep.
oh, somebody likes me,
Right.
which is so sad in hindsight to hear my sort of young self say that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think
that was
that's very normal though.
yes, 100%. Yeah,
To feel
you
that
know,
way.
Yeah, and so you know, I changed who I was. I changed how I dressed. I did not talk to friends and family hardly at all that year.
wow.
It was a whole man. If they probably brings up PTSD for that whole, you know.
So were they saying things to you like, Julie,
Oh yeah.
this guy isn't the one? Mm-hmm. And you were like, you don't know him.
You don't know. It's gonna
don't
be.
understand.
Yeah. I was just again that just like veil, almost like I was
Yeah.
not seeing clearly.
Wow. So how did that come down? How
So
did you decide
you know, as
to cancel
I've
it?
thought about it through the years, I'm like, I can't even remember what church I was sitting in. I think I was sitting in a church, but it was not my regular church.
Okay.
And it was a couple of weeks, and I knew that people who really loved me and knew me were grieved.
Oh,
But they were trying to not
Right.
completely sever bridges.
Yes. Yeah.
And it was one of those moments where, you know, I think, you know, you talk about hearing from the Lord.
Yeah.
I can't say that a ton of times in my life I've audibly heard from the Lord. I think most of the times that God has spoken to me, somebody's brought me wisdom, or I've, you know, been
Read a scripture,
Yes,
or-
yes, but this was one moment where it was like all of a sudden I knew you will not get married.
Wow. And it was during a service.
And I was sitting next to him.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
And I'm like, you know, sitting there, and I'm like, oh my word, like there's invitations. People
Yeah.
have plans to travel. Bridesmaids dresses have been purchased, you know, but you cannot do this. And it was just a relationship that was not rooted in the Lord. There's a lot of sinfulness. But
Wow.
I had to, yeah. And so
Praise
to
God.
walk out of that situation, to tell him it did not go very well, you know,
I'm sure.
we dealt with like stalking
Oh, boy.
a little bit, you know.
Which
and
just confirms that you made the right choice.
yes. And later we found, you know, I
Wow.
found out situations about, you know, other relationships that he had, you know,
man.
that I was like, oh. And
Wow.
so God completely protected me. You know, I talk about how great my marriage with Justin is, and it is. But it almost didn't happen.
That's amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
we love our 3 son-in-laws very much.
Yeah.
But even when our girls were dating and even during the engagement, we said to them, if at any time
Right.
you don't feel like this is the right thing, like it's okay if we've paid for things. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's so important for girls to know that you're never, you know,
Yeah. That if
stuck
God, if you,
before you're married.
Right.
Once you're married, like I don't want to hear any complaining.
Right.
But
right. There you go. Exactly. No, it was just, you know, yeah, and so, I'm talking with my boys. They haven't started dating yet, but just even
Good.
talking, yeah, I know, I'm like, not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. So, but we, I just like, I'm going to talk to them about,
Yeah.
the fact that dating is not marriage.
Right.
And the whole
Point
anyway,
is- No, that's so good.
But
I
it's
mean,
just, yeah.
and you have your story to share as proof to
Yeah.
them of like what it means. Like,
Right.
That you could be with somebody that you like, in your spirit isn't the one that God has for you.
Yeah. So I thank God all the time because that was such a act of protection, and
Yeah.
my story could look so different. I'm fully aware, and so yeah. So
Sometimes God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers. Thanks, Garth. Isn't that Garth Brooks?
yes, right, exactly. Yes, Garth, exactly. So no, well, so I broke up. And actually did about a good solid year and a half of counseling, which is the best thing I ever did. A good solid Christian counselor.
Good.
Who really just, we unpacked like, what are your, what are your insecurities, and where do you, where are you placing your trust in this or that, or why do you feel the need to, prove to people this or that, and
That's good.
I often think that was one of the most rewarding things
Good.
that I've done. And,
Good.
I always encourage people, to, sometimes you have mentors,
Yeah.
sometimes you have friends, but also sometimes counselors, as my sister is one too,
Yes.
but it's just such a gift. They have a
Yes.
gift. God uses their gifts to be able to shine sort of insight. And so, I'm very thankful for the counselor that I had, because I think it changed how I went into a relationship then with Justin when I met him. And so we met in 2004 or 5, got married in, a year or two later. And so then, we got married, and
And the rest is history.
Yeah.
18 years ago, you said?
18 years ago.
18, okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So one of the things that I know about you is that you have hearing difficulty.
Yeah.
So when did that start, and how did...
Yeah, so
Tell me
it's an
about
interesting story because again, one of 3 girls, and my older sister, Jennifer, when she was about 1-ish, I think the story is, my parents realized she really couldn't hear them. This was, in the she was born in the 70s. They weren't doing hearing screens regularly,
Yeah.
not like they do now. I mean, they're so if you
Yeah.
can catch this
Put
early.
those little
yeah.
beads on the babies.
Little earmuffs, exactly. Listen to those sounds. So that was a shock to them because neither of them have any history of hearing loss. There's no history of hearing loss in the family. But, okay. And there's some, natural grief, I think, with that process. Like, what's life going to look like? And really, at the time, the choice was you put your child in a deaf school where they sign, or you mainstream your child and they speak.
Okay.
So people often ask if I sign. I'm like, no, because it was you could
You didn't go that stream.
Now people
Interesting.
mix it, yeah. So
Yeah.
So then I came along about 5 years later, and I heard normally until I was 3. And then I started losing hearing. And by the way, our hearing loss is progressive. So it started as mild, then to moderate, then to severe, then to profound, and to the point where, you could hear really very little. And then my little sister needed hearing aids around 3rd grade.
Interesting.
So it's definitely genetic.
Yes.
But
Did they know? Did they ever?
I think there was, they would know better than I. I think they did some testing. There's obviously some recessive that they both have that I don't have it pinpointed or anything. But yeah, so I got hearing aids around 3. Spent a lot of time in speech therapy and stuff as a kid. I couldn't say my R's. I struggled with that and, different things. But my parents were always pretty determined that, no, we're going to normal school, normal speech and hearing, or speech. And so that part, they always like, no, she's perfectly capable. She can do that. I sat near the front of classes so I could lip read better. I was a very good lip reader. I did tons of classes on that. Ironically, so about 10 years ago now, no, take that back, because Jonah was a baby and he's 13. So 13 years ago, I got my right cochlear implant, and a year or two later, my left. It's pretty incredible. My hearing was down to about 6% speech
Whoa.
recognition. Like if I wasn't looking at you, I could really only understand about 6%.
So you could only understand by reading someone's
Correct.
lips. There
I
was
was
no
really
like,
good at it.
you had no like hearing aids or.
Well, I had hearing aids,
Okay.
but with powerful hearing
It was
aids.
still only
And again, I went from mild, where I barely
hear.
had issues, to,
Wow.
to progressive
Yeah.
sensorineural hearing loss. So, and I was really sort of devastated, because I thought I was going to have to give up my nursing career. I was, one of the reasons I went into lactation is that as a NICU nurse, I realized I was not really hearing babies' like bowel tones and lung sounds very well,
Oh, wow.
which is a total safety issue.
Yeah.
And I could never live with myself if I missed
Missed something.
something. Yeah, so important
Yeah.
for those little fragile babies. So, I loved working in like nursery and NICU, I really did, but I had to step away from that because it just wasn't safe. And I was using a electronic amplified stethoscope, and still. So it got really pretty bad, and I couldn't hear on the phone. I mean, it was all just really discouraging.
That's hard.
Yeah, and it's hard because, again, that self-consciousness, when you miss something that somebody says, or you can't hear something, you have to ask them to repeat it 5 times, you feel like, oh, I look so
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah, and there's
you
nothing you can do about it.
No, but you just have that narrative, because you're like, oh, now
Yeah.
they think I'm,
Yeah.
that I can't figure this out,
Right.
And so it's just this, it's one of the things I think that, contributed to me just kind of feeling like I needed to prove myself all the
Yeah.
time with stuff. I was really good at sports. I won a state championship in track and field in high school, and I was really good at academics.
What was
I got
your-
a 4.0. I was a thrower, so
Okay,
I threw
I can see
shot,
that.
discus, javelin. I
Yeah.
loved it, and I
You went to state?
was decent at it. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. I won state for shot put one
Wow.
year, and some other stuff. So, but that I really hung my
Identity.
on. She's really good at sports. She's super. I had a 4.0, and
Yeah, you're very smart.
but that's partially, I think, due to the hearing loss. Is that I'm
Wow.
like, well, I'm gonna achieve
Interesting.
in this way.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
anyway, that was roundabout. But when I got the cochlear implants, I went from 6% to 98%
Awesome.
perception.
Yeah.
So I thank God all the time
Life-changing.
for people who are so smart and who did research and who
Yeah.
studied and made that surgery and that procedure a possibility,
Yeah.
because that has changed everything. I wouldn't be able to be a nurse manager without it. I
Right.
wouldn't be able to, things even like the church board.
Yeah.
I would not be able to hear things well,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
things that I love doing here at the church, like helping with Embrace Grace or some of those groups. It just wouldn't be possible. So it's been a really interesting part of my journey for sure, but something that I think God has used.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you,
build
like-
character. Yeah.
Obviously it's a refining,
Yeah.
any struggle, any
Yeah.
pain, sickness, whatever
Yeah.
loss refines us. And it's one of our like 5 senses.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, to
Big
not
deal.
have hearing, like, how do you feel like, or have you been able to like sense, or could you articulate maybe how you feel like it's maybe enhanced other senses that you
Yeah.
have, or like made you
Yeah.
more a certain way than you maybe would have been, or other people are?
I think for sure I am sort of hyper vigilant in terms of like looking around, and like I notice a lot of things
Hmm. Interesting, yeah.
visually, because I better
Those are your
be on
ears.
top of it. Exactly. Certain things that way. I joke that I have like this incredible sense of smell, but I think it does heighten other
Yeah,
things,
no, 100%.
because you're like, I'm going to compensate by doing more over
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
One of the things my surgeon said to me before I got the implant, he said, you're gonna feel so much less tired after this. And I was like,
Wow.
what? I was like, what do you mean? He goes, all the work you do trying to
Here.
stay on top of everything. And really, did I hear you right? And a lot of times I heard 5 of the 7 words. So I'm going to fill in the others and hope I'm right.
That's a lot of work.
You know, it is. You're always, and so I always
Puzzles.
remember that. He said, you're gonna just have more energy and just feel less pressure. And I had never thought of that, and he was right.
Was he?
Yeah. But what's interesting about cochlear implant surgery, when you turn it on, you can't hear anything. It actually just sounds like a series of beeps and clicks,
Okay.
all noise. And so they warn you about this because otherwise you would be like, this has been a horrible mistake.
Yeah.
And when you get this surgery, they destroy your natural ear. You can't go back.
Okay.
So it's...
Is it in your ear? Or how,
No,
where is
so
it?
it actually, it's, well, yes, but like this is my cochlear implant, and I can't hear anything in this ear right now because it's off. It's just like a dead side. But I have a magnet underneath my skin here.
Underneath
gonna
your
put it on- Now I
skin.
can hear. So
So obviously you take it off to sleep?
I take it off to sleep. Justin's my alarm clock.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
When he travels,
Lucky
I'm
guy.
like, shoot.
Yeah, what
I'm
do you-
like,
Can't take
no,
him off.
I
You just
have a
leave it
little,
Like a buzz.
watch
Yeah.
the buzzes, but usually I just let him wake me up.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so I hear through the processor, that's the processor, and then it travels to the magnet, and then there's a set of electrodes threaded through my cochlea, and those are activated by the computer, and it stimulates my auditory nerve. So what I used to hear natural sound waves, but when you turn the cochlear implant on, you're all of a sudden hearing through a computer.
Okay.
So your brain doesn't recognize the sound waves.
Right.
So you have to relearn to
No
hear.
way.
So you take about 3+ months of therapy
Wow.
where you're just listening to sounds over and over. Your brain is incredible. God's
Goodness.
like,
So you're learning to speak and
you're
hear
learning
again.
to, yeah. And
Wow.
so, you know what, if you said something, it would just sound like beep, 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 like a robot. But then slowly, I'm like, oh, I hear a voice in there.
Okay.
And slowly, it gets more and more clear. And your brain is plastic enough
Yeah.
to put that together.
That's
I mean, how cool is that?
amazing. That
Yeah,
is-
I mean, the body is just so, God has just made such a amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's been it was a whole thing.
So you
But
just have one? Or do you
two.
have, okay, so you have
I
one
have
on
two.
both
Yeah,
ears.
one on each.
And what is the maintenance on that?
So right now, actually, I'm in the process. You just pretty much have to replace the processor, the outside part.
outside
Every 10 years or so, they come out with
Wow.
better
Yeah.
technology. You know, I'm excited because I'm in the middle of getting my new ones now, and they have
Okay.
Bluetooth capability.
Yeah.
So I will,
So you can answer.
listen to yes, but
Yes.
just
Yes. Well, hearing aids do that now too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
You can just
So much better.
be talking on your
Yeah.
phone, but you're not
So
holding the phone to your ear.
when I was a nurse at we have an awesome parent and baby care center where people go after they have their baby at Overlake, and I used to work there. And I had a stethoscope that would Bluetooth. This one I have to use a
Oh.
remote control. The new ones I won't have to. But
Wow.
so I wouldn't have to put anything in my ear because my ears don't work anyway, right? It's all through
True.
here. It's not through my ears. But people kept looking at me. So,
Like, do it. Put it in your
what
ears.
is she doing?
Yes.
Because my stethoscope would be laying there, and I just have the bell on the baby, and nothing's in my ear, and I'm like listening. But I look, people were like, I finally just started.
Would you tell them?
I did, but it became a whole thing to explain.
Right.
So I just put it
So
in my
now
ear.
you put 'em in.
I just put them in just to
So
pretend that,
funny.
like, I am listening. I am listening.
Right.
Just not the way you think I am. So it's funny things like that you just laugh about. But
Yeah.
yeah. So
Okay,
it's been
so-
amazing. It's been a gift.
So you've done a lactation consultant. You were in the NICU. Right now you manage in the
Yeah,
postpartum. What
manage.
other areas of?
Cardiac telemetry. So that was my first year of nursing. I was a cardiac telemetry nurse at Virginia Mason. And then we moved to Virginia for Justin's job, and that's where I kind of did nursery and NICU. When we moved back, I initially thought, I'm gonna kind of stay at home more. I'll just do a little something on the side. So I taught clinicals at Shoreline Community College, and did that for a couple quarters. But then Justin went through a period where he was, just looking for a job. And then he ended up going back to school at NU, and so I knew I needed something more full-time, and that's when I became a lactation consultant with Overlake. So yeah.
What do you think has made you so passionate about nursing and working in hospitals? And
I think, we talk a lot about in nursing, remembering the why, because there are days when you're like, this is rough.
People are people.
Yes, people can be people for sure. And so, when I think back to my why, like, why did I love, I just love the ability to impact people who are in a tough place. And usually when you're in a hospital, usually you don't really want to be there. Right. It's not your dream to end up in a hospital. Obviously for childbirth, it's usually a good thing. But, I think one of the things I have most loved is like patient education and teaching. So when I know something about like how the heart works and how like, let me explain this to you, and how when you do this or change your life this way, how it can really impact you, and just sometimes to see the light go on. And I think that's why postpartum has ended up being something I've fallen into, because that is a time of real learning, right?
Yeah.
How to take care of yourself as a new mom, how to feed your baby, how do I take care of a newborn, what am I going to do? Going home with no sleep, how do I manage this?
It's overwhelming.
Weight loss, jaundice, like all the things. So, to be a postpartum nurse, you have to really love teaching. And I do. I think that's one of, my most favorite things about nursing is just teaching and building a relationship with people. And my hope is that they walk away better for it, like their life is improved somehow, because I've hopefully been able to help a little bit. And I just think nursing's so practical too in so many ways. Like everybody needs help with their health at one point or another, right? Northwest has such a great program, and they have a multicultural focus. And so I got the chance to go to India on my final senior semester there. And I'm kind of getting the chance to start to use that gift again a little bit. I went to Belize this last January. I'm going to go again this coming January. And even just the chance to share knowledge and skills.
It's really needed.
With people from all over the world is such a gift. So it's a great vehicle and skill to have to kind of use in a variety of places.
How old were you when you knew that this was the line of work you wanted to go into?
I think in high school, I knew I was pretty interested in healthcare in some aspect. I really love sport, so I thought, I'm going to be a physical therapist. I'm going to, work with people and do. And in fact, I was planning to go to SPU of all places, and you're like, how do you end up at Northwest? And do physical therapy. And I went to visit a friend at NU, ran into the nursing dean at the time, Carl Christensen. Looking back, I'm like, how did this happen? Obviously, God meant it to happen. But he started talking to me on the sidewalk, on the campus. Oh, you should consider the nursing program. It was a fairly new program at that time. So, and let's schedule an interview right now. And I'm, okay.
Smart guy.
Yeah. And so, I think in many ways, God sort of pivoted me from physical therapy. Not that, either one would have been, bad. But, actually going to give a lot of credit to Carl. And he's a really dear, wonderful man. He went to be with the Lord fairly recently. He had cancer, but he is really special. So I think he had a lot to do with me kind of ending up in that direction, and then of course God. So well, it just shows how God uses people all along our journey. To point us in the right direction. 100%.
And then recently you've had just you were at work and one of your coworkers noticed something on your, like a nodule or something on your thyroid gland.
I was talking in a meeting and turning away from her. She was sitting over here and she said, so how long have you had that lump on your neck? And what do you mean? And I'm like, I really do have a lump on my neck. I'm like, I kind of laugh. How long would that have gone before I noticed that? But, thankfully she said something. I'm sure you gave
Justin a hard time about that. Like, why didn't
you not notice this? No, we didn't.
Never look at me.
I know. Right. Come on now. So, no, but it was pretty obvious once she pointed it out. And, I went in and made an appointment and, ultrasound. And they're like, oh, you should probably biopsy it. And biopsy showed it was probably a tumor. So that was that was a surprise,
Yeah.
for sure. And, as a nurse, I'm like, I know the statistics are pretty good. Thyroid cancer has a very high, success rate.
Yeah.
And so that part, I think, I think it could have, I don't think I had the full experience of like the complete unknown because I felt pretty confident.
Good.
And then, of course, in God's plan for
Yeah.
my life.
Yeah.
But there
You
was
trust
definitely
God.
a sense of like, okay, I'd like whatever's in there out. Let's,
Right,
So,
right.
yeah, so I had surgery, and the best news, the type of tumor ended up being essentially pre-malignant. So,
Praise God.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and was able to leave half my thyroid in actually. So at the moment, I don't need any thyroid medication or
Good.
anything. So that's been a gift. But God's used that to spark conversations with other
Yeah,
people
totally.
who are going through things and finding out news of their own
Right,
or
right.
a chronic issue that they've had,
Yeah.
and just I tend to be a pretty open book. I'm like, if people might as well know.
Yeah,
'Cause
I
I,
know.
you
Pray.
know-
At least you can pray.
Yeah, you can pray for it,
Yeah.
and if I'm not there, that's why, and
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yeah.
And so my hope in that is that people feel like, I was blessed by all the care and kindness and prayers, and my hope is that people can also
Yeah.
feel like they can talk
Yeah.
to me and share, and I've been able to pray with different people about things that are going on with them. So
Yeah.
it was kind of it's definitely something I didn't see coming, but
Yeah.
I mean, God's been faithful to walk through that for sure.
Well, you're definitely a brilliant woman.
Thanks.
So think about our viewers, our listeners, like they all do different kinds of things. Like I work in a church.
Yeah.
So I don't get to see life in the hospital,
Yeah.
especially like in a birthing center or, that wing of a hospital. So what do you think, like, what's the most surprising part about your job, or that people would be like, oh my word, I never even thought about that? Or like maybe a crazy birth story that,
Yeah.
like just recently, even our church, one of our congregants had their baby in their car on the way to the hospital.
Yes.
Like stuff like that happens. And Jay mentioned that he told you that story, and you're like, oh, we actually
It
knew that.
happens.
That's crazy. I've never
It is
known
crazy.
anybody.
The different hospitals I've worked at, there's some stories that I'm like, man, that they will tell that story every birthday. People that, we've had people pull up to valet parking, and you guys,
my word.
people think that, oh, I just need to pop into the bathroom real quick before I go up there. Well, that was actually the urge to push.
Oh, my word.
And
Yeah.
there's the baby, to,
That's not good.
no,
Oh,
no,
boy.
it definitely creates moments of,
Yeah. Yeah.
let's all, where are they? And then, in a hospital, you're always, where exactly are they? And,
Yes,
there's a good
yes,
system for
yeah.
calling out stuff. But,
Okay.
gosh, what would people, there's just lots of, I think that people would just be surprised, on any given day, we can, we can deliver between, 10 to, we've had, I think, like 22, 24 babies.
In a day.
In a day.
Yeah, wow.
And it just, all that
That's a
goes
lot
into
of
that.
life.
Yes, yes. Lots of babies,
life.
lots of life. And,
Wow. And that's just one hospital.
one hospital one day,
Yeah.
And so, I think the nurses, they just juggle so much, and they're
Yeah.
so smart, and they, they take care of usually 3 families at a time.
Yeah.
And so I think it would surprise people to know just how many people they take care of any given, because you could take care of a family and, discharge them, and congratulations,
Yeah.
and you turn right around and see a
There's
new
another,
family. And,
yeah.
but yeah, there's so they just work so hard, and there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to make it look like,
Like it's easy.
it's easy.
Like you got it under control.
Yes,
Like you know you're doing.
100%, all the time. So, no, but
Oh, man.
yeah, no, I think some of that, I think fun, slightly crazy birth stories are always,
Yeah.
and usually people are just laughing after the fact.
After the
Not
fact.
usually when it happens.
I just can't relate to that because all of ours were like, well, the 2 that I went into labor for, you know, it's like you're calling, can I come in now?
Yeah.
And it's
Some
never
people
like, they're
are
like,
just-
no, just,
Some people can change so fast. It blows
Yeah.
my mind too. I was
Yeah.
not one of those people that
No,
was like,
me
you know.
either.
But
Very
yeah,
slow.
you can. I've seen people be from, I think I'm starting to have contractions to having a baby 15 minutes later.
That's
It's
crazy.
not a happy, pleasant
No,
thing.
it's so fast and
yeah.
wow.
And so, you know, we always enjoy. We always celebrate the first baby of the new year, for example.
Yes.
That's always fun.
like our grandbaby was born on January 1st.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
Yep. There were a couple babies from our church actually.
Okay.
Yvette's granddaughter was born the same day
Yes.
as Baker.
Yes. That's
Yep.
right.
At,
That's right.
at Evergreen.
Yes.
Yeah, they were at Evergreen. And, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have fun, you know, with some of those things. I just enjoy even little things like, you know, the NICU does such a great job with Halloween, for example.
Oh.
They just dress them up as little, you know, little Mariners players this year.
They dress the
Little-
babies up?
Yes.
Oh,
You know,
in
so
the
they have
NICU,
some
that's
great
sweet.
volunteers who,
Yeah.
they make little outfits just out of felt, and you can literally just like lay them over the babies because a lot of them are
'Cause they're not
tiny,
wearing-
and, you
yeah.
know. But you know, there's some funny ones. Just one baby this year was a Costco hot dog. You know.
It's probably the size of a.
Right, exactly. And, you know, so those are always fun. I think it's just really fun to celebrate with our families and
yeah.
to really, you know, just walk with them in this completely life-changing chapter. But I think that, yeah, there's a lot that goes into, you know, the nurses are constantly doing drills, they're constantly doing ongoing education, they're constantly doing learning modules and hands-on skills fairs, and it's just constant. Like you know, I'm always kind of in awe of them. They're renewing their, you know, CPR, they're renewing we all take neonatal resuscitation, so, you know, that's totally different than CPR. They're all doing things that help them to know how to take care of sick newborns, how to manage a hemorrhage, for, you know, drilling on that every year for mothers. And, you know, there's a lot that goes into just that cool, confident
Yeah.
nurse who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a busy place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because it seems like in our culture,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there was that kind of that rhetoric of like how birth is like so traumatic for a woman,
Mm-hmm.
like, and I understand that there are situations where
Sure.
it's life threatening, or
Right.
you know,
Right.
serious. But I mean, it's what God designed our bodies to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Pregnancy in and of itself is not an illness.
No.
And I think that's
Thank you.
something that's important to, yeah, it's not an illness. No. There are times when your body, you know, has certain things like
Yeah.
severe hypertension.
Right.
Or other things where, well, that is,
Well,
you know,
I
concerning.
developed hyperthyroidism during my 3rd pregnancy.
Which
Which
can have
everything
some
turned
funny
out
side
okay.
effects.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it
but-
can kind of.
Yeah.
So there's things about it that yes, but no, pregnancy in and of itself is a beautiful.
God's design.
Yes,
It's natural.
Yes,
It's meant to work.
Not an illness.
Yeah.
And so, you know, important for people to find, you know, the right level of care, right? You know, our OBGYNs are incredible at managing some really tough circumstances where people have got some really important things to manage. And then, you know, there's some midwives who
Yeah.
are really wonderful when there's not some of these higher risk
Right.
categories at, you know, both ultimately manage the really beautiful physiology of birth.
Yes.
But yeah, no, in and of itself, pregnancy is a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
and
not something
that's-
to be afraid of or that's harmful to your body
Yeah,
or to the baby.
Yeah.
And life is precious.
yes, I agree.
Every life. And I
Yeah.
thank you so much for doing what you do
Yeah.
to help moms and women and babies and families, you know, as they're stepping into that new season of
Yeah.
the life outside of the womb.
Yeah.
That is so precious.
It's a joy. It's a joy, and it's something that is, yeah, I think it's just such a privilege to be able to be there and to take care of people and to help them get started. You know,
Yeah.
those first steps, and then here I am,
Yeah.
16 years later, we're teenagers,
Yeah.
but somebody helped me,
Yep.
on that step, and it's
Well, not everyone could do it, but God has gifted you too, and that's definitely obvious to see and beautiful.
Thanks.
Is there anything else that is in your heart you just wanted to get out before we?
I just think that as you talk about different giftings, and I just think it's so true. Like, I'm always in awe of how God has given different people different gifts, truly, and that it's the whole body, right?
Yes.
Of Christ, just
Yeah.
bringing all those gifts. And there's been times in my life when I wish I was more artistic. I'm really not. Genuinely, poor Judah inherited that as well.
Oh.
And I helped him once with a elementary school project, and I think the teacher gave him like kudos for like no parent helping.
Oh.
I was like, well, technically,
It's a good thing you helped him then.
right.
Otherwise, who knows?
Right. No, that's my level. So we can all look at ways that people are gifted, but I just think that truly, it's such a blessing that for each person to lean into what God's called them to. We all can't be all things, right? And I think a lot of times in my life I've probably tried to be too many things.
Yeah.
And just to this is where God's gifted me. This is where God's called me.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of other worthy
Yeah.
pursuits and
Right.
things, but I'm gonna try to, stay in this,
Yeah.
lane where God has, called me to. And some of the groups that we've been able to do at church is an extension, kind of loving on
Yes.
moms
Yeah.
and things here is just such a blessing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there's that scripture that talks about if he wants to make us something, if God, as the potter, he's
Yeah.
the potter and we're the clay.
Yeah.
If he wants to design us into a, beautiful instrument that everyone will
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
or just like a little clay pot for
Right.
holding simple things.
Each one has its purpose.
Yeah,
so.
and to be content in that, and to have peace in that, and it's hard to do at times, especially
Yeah.
if we compare ourselves to other people and we're like, oh, they're saving lives, they
Right.
know how to help babies in the
Right.
NICU,
Right.
or
Right.
I'm
It seems so much more.
I just write songs.
No, but then
You know what
the
I mean?
funny part is I'm sitting over here going, man, you can just touch people so deeply.
Yeah.
And it's just so amazing,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's easy to,
Yeah.
especially as women, I think.
Right.
So yeah, I'm still on that road for sure, but I think just leaning into those unique gifts
Yeah.
and being confident in that.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
And if
don't
you're
have-
hitting a rough patch, maybe you're like, somebody's listening and they're like, I'm in my 60s and I'm struggling a lot with my identity.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Because it kind of happens at different stages of our life where we'll hit
And you
that.
know what? Some of the most wonderful nurses, for example, that I know
Mm-hmm.
have started a second or third career.
Wow.
And have gone back to school
cool.
in their
That's
40s,
cool.
50s,
Yeah.
and have started nursing. And
Wow.
I mean, that might not be for everybody, but I just, it's never too late.
not
If
over
you're-
until it's over.
If you're on this earth,
Yes.
yeah,
God has purpose for you.
exactly.
That's
So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time. I know you have a busy schedule and
Thanks.
family to get back to, so we'll just end in a word of prayer and then we'll say goodbye.
Okay.
Jesus, we thank you so much for this time that we've had together. Lord, I thank you for Julie. Thank you for her life and her story, that she uses it for you, for your purposes and your kingdom. And Lord, I just pray great blessing upon her family, at work, Lord, that you give her favor and wisdom as she helps parents and moms, and as she leads the nurses at Overlake, God, that you just bless that hospital, bless every family that enters those doors, and just I just pray that this podcast would bless everyone who listens to it, and we just give it to you, Christ, for your kingdom and your glory. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Julie.
Thanks.
And thank you, lifers, for tuning in to today's episode of the 1010 podcast. Like and subscribe and share it with anybody who'd be blessed by it. And we'll see you next time.
Of his love,